Subscribe to my YouTube channel for deeply emotional, romantic, and mature stories that echo through your heart. Don't forget to like, share, and comment to support meaningful storytelling. The rain drummed against the windshield like 1,000 tiny fingers, each drop catching the glow of the streetlights as they passed. Elena sat in the passenger seat, her heart racing for reasons she couldn't quite name. The car felt smaller tonight, more intimate, as if the storm outside had somehow drawn the walls closer together. "You're unusually quiet," Marcus said, his voice cutting through the steady rhythm of the rain. His hands gripped the steering wheel, a little tighter than necessary, and Elena noticed the way his jaw tensed in the dim light. She turned to study his profile, the way the shadows played across his features. After 3 years of friendship, she thought she knew every expression, every subtle shift in his mood. But tonight felt different. Tonight, there was something electric in the air between them, something that made her skin tingle with anticipation. "Just thinking," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "About what?" The question hung between them like a challenge. Elena felt the weight of everything unspoken, everything that had been building between them for months. The stolen glances, the accidental touches that lingered too long, the way he looked at her sometimes when he thought she wasn't watching. "About tonight," she said finally. "About what happened at the party." Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. The party, where she'd watched him dance with someone else, where she'd felt something crack inside her chest when he'd smiled at another woman, the way she'd always hoped he'd smile at her. Elena ... double quotes he started, but she cut him off. "It's okay. I know we're just friends. I know that's all we'll ever be." The words tasted bitter in her mouth, but she forced them out anyway. Better to acknowledge the truth than to keep pretending, keep hoping for something that would never happen. Marcus pulled the car to the side of the road, the sudden stop making Elena's heart skip. They were parked under a streetlight, the rain creating a curtain of privacy around them. He turned to face her, and the intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. "Is that really what you think?" he asked, his voice rough with something she couldn't identify. "That we're just friends?" Elena felt her world tilt. "Aren't we?" The silence stretched between them, filled with the sound of rain and the rapid beating of her heart. Marcus reached out, his fingers barely grazing her cheek, and she leaned into the touch despite herself. "Elena," he said, and her name on his lips sounded like a prayer. "There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have said a long time ago." 3 months earlier, Elena had been sitting in her favorite coffee shop, laptop open, trying to focus on her work when Marcus had walked in. She'd known him since college, had considered him one of her closest friends, but something had shifted that day. Maybe it was the way the afternoon light had caught in his dark hair, or the way he'd smiled when he'd spotted her across the crowded cafe. "Mind if I join you?" he'd asked, already pulling out the chair across from her. "Only if you promise not to distract me from this report," she'd replied, though they both knew she was already distracted. He'd ordered his usual black coffee and settled in across from her, and for a moment they just looked at each other, really looked as if seeing each other for the first time. "You look tired," he'd said, concern creeping into his voice. "Thanks. Exactly what every woman wants to hear," she'd replied with a laugh, but she'd felt the warmth of his attention like sunshine on her skin. "You know what I mean. Are you taking care of yourself?" The question had been simple, but the way he'd asked it, with such genuine care, had made something flutter in her chest. She'd realized then that somewhere along the way, her feelings for Marcus had shifted from friendship into something deeper, something that made her pulse quicken whenever he was near. That had been the beginning of 3 months of delicious torture. 3 months of wondering if the way he looked at her meant something more, If the casual touches and lingering conversations held the same weight for him that they did for her now. Sitting in his car in the rain, Elena felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, about to either fly or fall. "What is it?" she whispered, afraid to hope, afraid to breathe. Marcus turned away from her, staring out at the rain-soaked street. "I've been trying to figure out how to say this for weeks. Hell, if I'm being honest, I've been trying to figure out how to say this for years." Marcus ... "Let me finish," he said, his voice strained. "Please, because if I don't say this now, I might never have the courage again." Elena nodded, her heart pounding so hard she was sure he could hear it over the rain. "That woman at the party tonight," he continued. "Sarah, she's someone my mother set me up with. She's everything I should want. Beautiful, successful, funny. And when I was dancing with her, all I could think about was how wrong it felt. How she wasn't you." Eleanor's breath caught. "Marcus, I kept looking over at you, watching you watch us, and I saw something in your eyes that I've been hoping to see for so long. Something that made me think maybe, just maybe, you felt the same way I do." He turned back to her then, and the raw emotion in his eyes made Elena's chest tight. "I'm in love with you, Elena. I have been for years, but I was too afraid to say anything. Too afraid of losing you as a friend. Too afraid of ruining what we had." The words hung in the air between them like a bridge Elena wasn't sure she was brave enough to cross. Years of friendship. Years of careful boundaries. Years of wondering and hoping and dreaming. "But tonight," Marcus continued, "watching you leave that party, seeing the look on your face, I realized that staying silent was the real risk. That I was already losing you by not being honest about how I feel." Elena felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "Do you know how long I've wanted to hear you say that?" "How long?" "Since college," she admitted, the words tumbling out in a rush. "Since that night we stayed up until dawn talking about everything and nothing. Since you brought me soup when I was sick with the flu. Since you held me when my father died and didn't try to fix it. Just let me cry." Marcus reached for her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Same reason you didn't," she said with a shaky laugh. "I was terrified of losing you. You're my best friend, Marcus. You're the person I call when something amazing happens. The person I want to share my day with. The thought of losing that because I wanted more." "You wouldn't have lost me," he said softly. "You could never lose me." Elena looked down at their joined hands, marveling at how right it felt. How perfectly they fit together. "So what happens now?" "Now," Marcus said, lifting her chin with his free hand, "I want to kiss you. I want to take you home and hold you. And wake up next to you tomorrow morning. I want to stop pretending that what I feel for you is just friendship." Eleanor's heart soared. "Yes. Yes to which part?" "All of it," she whispered. "Yes to all of it." Marcus smiled then. The first real smile she'd seen from him all night, and Elena felt her world rearrange itself around this moment. Around the rain. And the streetlight, and the way he was looking at her, like she was everything he'd ever wanted. "There's something else," he said, his thumb tracing across her cheek. "Something I need you to know before we do this." Eleanor's stomach dropped. "What?" "I got a job offer. In Seattle. It's everything I've been working toward. The kind of opportunity that only comes along once in a lifetime." The happiness that had been building in Eleanor's chest deflated like a punctured balloon. "When?" "I have to give them an answer by Monday. The position starts in 2 weeks. Elena pulled back, the space between them suddenly feeling like an ocean. 2 weeks? "I haven't accepted it yet," Marcus said quickly. "I was going to, but then tonight happened. Then this conversation happened. and now I don't know what to do. You have to take it, Elena said, even though the words felt like glass in her throat. It's your dream job. You've been working toward this for years. Not without you. Marcus, you can't turn down your dream for me. I won't let you. And I can't leave you. Not now, not when we're finally being honest about what we want. Elena felt tears streaming down her face. This is impossible. Come with me, Marcus said suddenly, his eyes bright with hope. Come to Seattle. We could start fresh. Start our life together somewhere new. I can't just leave everything behind. My job, my family, my whole life is here. Your life could be with me. The simplicity of the statement, the pure hope in his voice, made Elena's heartache. It's not that simple. Why not? People do it all the time. They take risks for love. What if it doesn't work out? What if we ruin everything we have? Marcus cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs wiping away her tears. What if it does work out? What if we're perfect together? What if this is the beginning of the best part of our lives? Elena closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. I'm scared. So am I, he admitted. I'm terrified. But I'm more afraid of spending the rest of my life wondering what if. They sat in silence for a long moment, the rain continuing its steady rhythm against the windows. Elena felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her, the fear and hope warring in her chest. I need time to think, she said finally. Marcus nodded, though she could see the disappointment in his eyes. How much time? I don't know. This is a lot to process. I know. And I'm sorry for dumping this all on you at once. The job offer, my feelings, everything. I just ... I couldn't keep pretending anymore. Elena reached for his hand. I'm glad you told me. I just need to figure out what it means for me. For us. Whatever you decide, Marcus said. I want you to know that I love you. That's not going to change whether you come with me or not. Don't say that, Elena whispered. Don't make this harder than it already is. Marcus leaned forward, pressing his forehead against hers. Can I kiss you? Just once, so I know what it feels like. Elena's breath caught. Marcus ... Please. Whatever happens, I need to know. She nodded, and he closed the distance between them, his lips soft and warm against hers. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, as if they were both afraid of breaking. Something precious. But then Elena's hands found their way to his hair, and he deepened the kiss, pouring years of longing and hope into the touch. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Elena felt dizzy, overwhelmed by the intensity of what had just happened. Now I really don't know what to do, she said with a shaky laugh. Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I should get you home. The drive to Elena's apartment was quiet, both lost in their own thoughts. When Marcus pulled up to her building, Elena made no move to get out of the car. I'll call you tomorrow, she said finally. Elena, wait. Marcus turned to face her, and she saw something desperate in his eyes. I need you to know something else. Something I should have said from the beginning. What? I've been in love with you for 5 years. 5 years of watching you date other people, of pretending I was okay with just being your friend. 5 years of wanting to tell you how I felt every time you cried over some guy who didn't deserve you. Elena's heart clenched. Marcus ... I know it's not fair to tell you this now, when you're trying to make an impossible decision. But I needed you to understand that this isn't some sudden realization. This isn't just about the job or the timing. This is about 5 years of loving you, and finally having the courage to say it. Elena felt fresh tears on her cheeks. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that if you come with me, it won't be a leap of faith. It will be stepping into something that's been real for me for years. And if you don't come, if you choose to stay here, I'll understand. But I needed you to know that you wouldn't be taking a chance on something uncertain. You'd be choosing something that's been the most certain thing in my life for years. Elena stared at him, overwhelmed by the weight of his words. I can't. I need to go. She got out of the car and ran to her building, not looking back. But she heard Marcus call her name, heard him say one more thing that made her heart stop completely. Elena, wait. There's something else I need to tell you. Something about why I really took this job. She turned back, rain soaking through her jacket, but Marcus was already driving away, leaving her standing alone on the sidewalk with more questions than answers. Elena spent the rest of the night pacing her apartment, Marcus's words echoing in her mind. 5 years. He'd been in love with her for 5 years and she'd had no idea. All those times she'd thought she was imagining the connection between them. All those moments she'd convinced herself she was reading too much into his kindness, his attention, his care. She thought about the job offer, about what it would mean to leave everything behind. Her position at the marketing firm was stable, comfortable, but it wasn't her dream job. Her family would miss her, but they'd understand. Her friends would be sad, but they'd support her decision. The only thing keeping her here was fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of taking a risk, fear of what might happen if she and Marcus didn't work out as a couple. But then she thought about the kiss, about the way it had felt to finally be honest with him about her feelings. She thought about 5 years of loving him from a distance, of pretending she was okay with just being his friend at 3 a.m. Elena made a decision. She picked up her phone and dialed Marcus's number. Elena? His voice was rough with sleep. Is everything okay? What did you mean? She asked without preamble. About why you took the job. There was a long pause. I didn't take it yet. But you said there was something about why you took it. What did you mean? Another pause. Can I come over? This isn't something I want to say over the phone. Elena's heart started racing again. It's 3 a.m. I know. But I haven't been able to sleep. And I'm guessing you haven't either. She looked around her apartment, at the life she'd built here, at the safety and comfort of the familiar. Okay, come over. 20 minutes later, Marcus was standing in her doorway, his hair disheveled, his eyes red with exhaustion. He looked like he'd been through an emotional war, and Elena supposed he had. Tell me, she said, leading him to her couch. Marcus sat down beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth of his body. I applied for the job because I thought it would be easier to leave than to stay here and watch you be with someone else. Elena's breath caught. What? You've been dating James for 3 months. I thought it was getting serious. I thought maybe you'd finally found someone who could make you happy, and I couldn't stand the thought of watching you fall in love with someone else. Elena stared at him in shock. Marcus, James and I broke up 6 weeks ago. What? We broke up 6 weeks ago. It wasn't serious. It was never serious. I broke up with him because ... She took a deep breath. Because I couldn't stop thinking about you. Marcus closed his eyes, leaning back against the couch. I'm an idiot. Why? Didn't you ask me about James? Why didn't you just talk to me? Because I was afraid of what you might say. I was afraid you might tell me you were happy with him, and I wasn't ready to hear that. Elena reached for his hand. So you applied for a job 3,000 miles away instead. It seemed like the logical solution at the time. And now? Marcus opened his eyes, looking at her with an intensity that made her heart skip. Now I don't know what to do. I can't take the job knowing you're single. I can't leave you, Elena. Not now. But it's your dream job. You're my dream, Elena. The job is just a job. Elena felt tears prick at her eyes again. Don't say that. Don't make me responsible for your career decisions. I'm not. I'm making you responsible for my heart. There's a difference. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Elena felt the weight of his love, the responsibility of it, the gift of it. What if we tried long distance? She asked quietly. What if you took the job, and we figured out a way to make it work? Marcus shook his head. I've seen how that ends. The distance, the time zones, the growing apart. I won't do that to us. Then what do you want me to do? I want you to come with me, he said simply. I want you to take a chance on us. What? We could be together. I want you to trust that what we have is strong enough to survive a move, a new city, a new life. Elena stood up, pacing to the window. The rain had stopped, and the first hints of dawn were starting to creep across the sky. What if I hate Seattle? What if I can't find a job? What if we get there and realize we're better as friends? What if you love Seattle? What if you find the perfect job? What if we get there and realize we're perfect together? Elena turned back to him. You keep doing that. Doing what? Turning my fears into possibilities. Marcus stood up, crossing to her. Because that's what love does. It takes your fears and transforms them into hopes. Elena felt something shift inside her. A loosening of the tight knot of fear she'd been carrying. I'm scared, Marcus. I know. But I'm more scared of losing you than I am of any of the unknowns. Elena looked up at him, at the man who'd been her best friend for years, who'd just confessed to loving her for 5 years, who was willing to give up his dream job rather than leave her behind. There's something I need to tell you too, she said quietly. What? I've been thinking about leaving this job anyway. It's not fulfilling anymore. I've been wanting to freelance, to travel, to have more freedom. I just haven't had the courage to make the change. Marcus's eyes widened. Really? Really? And Seattle has a great creative scene. There would be opportunities for me there, chances to build something new. Elena ... I'm not saying yes yet, she said quickly. But I'm not saying no either. I need a few days to think about it, to really consider what it would mean. Marcus nodded, though she could see the hope building in his eyes. I can give you time, but I need to give them an answer by Monday. I know, and I'll have an answer for you by then. They stood there for a moment, looking at each other in the pre-dawn light. Elena felt the weight of the decision ahead of her, but also something else. Something that felt like possibility, like the beginning of something beautiful. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. If I say yes, if I come with you, what happens to us? Do we date? Do we live together? Do we take it slow? Marcus smiled. The first genuine smile she'd seen from him all night. We figure it out as we go. But I'd like to wake up next to you every morning. I'd like to cook dinner with you and argue about what to watch on Netflix. I'd like to build a life with you, Elena. A real life, not just a friendship. Eleanor's heart soared. That sounds terrifying. The best things usually are. She stepped closer to him, close enough to see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes. Can I kiss you again? I thought you'd never ask. This time, the kiss was different. Less desperate, more certain. Like a promise, like a beginning. Elena felt herself melting into him, into the possibility of what they could be together. When they broke apart, both were breathless. I should go, Marcus said, though he made no move to leave. You should, Elena agreed, though she didn't step away from him. I'll call you tomorrow? Yes, and you'll think about it. Really think about it. Elena nodded. I promise. Marcus kissed her forehead, a gentle, lingering touch that made her heart ache with love. Whatever you decide, I love you. Remember that. I love you too, Elena whispered, the words feeling natural and right on her lips. Marcus smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. Now I really don't know what to do with myself. Go home and get some sleep. We both need to think clearly. You're right. He headed toward the door, then turned back. Elena? Yes, thank you. For listening, for being open to the possibility, for loving me back. Elena felt tears on her cheeks again, but this time they were happy tears. Thank you for having the courage to tell me. After he left, Elena sat on her couch, watching the sunrise over the city. She thought about Marcus, about the job offer, about the possibility of starting over in a new place with the man she loved. For the first time in years, she felt truly alive with possibility. The next 3 days passed in a blur of phone calls, research, and soul-searching. Elena called her sister, who immediately began looking up apartments in Seattle. She called her boss, who was disappointed but understanding. She spent hours online, researching the city, the job market, the possibilities for freelance work. Mostly, she thought about Marcus, about the way he'd looked at her in the car, about the kiss, about 5 years of loving her from a distance, about the courage it had taken for him to tell her how he felt, knowing it might change everything between them. On Sunday night, Elena made her decision. She called Marcus, her heart pounding as the phone rang. Elena? His voice was cautious, hopeful. I have an answer, she said. And? Elena took a deep breath, feeling like she was about to jump off a cliff. Yes, I'll come with you. The silence on the other end of the line stretched for so long that Elena started to worry the call had dropped. Marcus? Are you there? I'm here, he said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. I just ... I can't believe you said yes. I can't believe I said yes either. Are you sure? I don't want you to do this just because you feel pressured. Elena laughed, feeling giddy with relief and excitement. I'm doing this because I love you. Because I want to see what we could be together. Because I'm tired of being afraid. I love you so much, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. I promise I'll make this worth it. I promise I'll do everything I can to make you happy. You already do, Elena said. You already make me happy. So what happens now? Elena grinned, feeling more alive than she had in years. Now we plan a move. Now we start our life together. Now we take the biggest leap of faith either of us has ever taken. I can't wait, Marcus said. Elena? Yes. What I said in the car, about loving you for 5 years. Yes. I lied. It's been longer than that. It's been since the first day I met you. Elena felt her heart swell with love and joy. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go build our life together. As she hung up the phone, Elena looked around her apartment one more time. Tomorrow she would start packing. In 2 weeks, she would be on a plane to Seattle, to a new life, to a new beginning with the man she loved. It was terrifying and exhilarating and perfect. And it all started with what he said in that car. In the rain, when he finally found the courage to tell her the truth. Sometimes the biggest risks led to the most beautiful rewards. Sometimes love was worth jumping off a cliff for. Sometimes the thing that made your heart stop was exactly what you needed to make it start beating again. Elena smiled, closed her eyes, and began to dream of Seattle.